Hi, everyone. I'm Rosemarie Miller here with tax entrepreneur and content creator Duke Alexander Moore, but you may know him as Duke Loves Taxes. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. That voice, though, like, that's what's up. I like that got professional.
Duke, so you own a tax
Right.
business and you help creators, influencers, entrepreneurs manage their taxes, but you're also a content creator yourself. So, what is the number one way you've seen creators mishandle their taxes?
The number one is just not taking it seriously or not even knowing about it, not taking care of their bookkeeping. So these creators, they're also small business owners in the eyes of the IRS. They're no different from a Walmart. They're no different from Amazon. They're no different from the mom and pop shop, bakery shop down the street. So just like these businesses get write-offs, so do them. But in order for them to take advantage of the write-offs, it's like they need very good bookkeeping. They need a tax system. And what we see a lot of time is like they're afraid and they just put it on the back burner until like they'll come to us like when it's time to buy a house. Like when it gets real, it's either it's desperate or they're inspired by something or they're fearful. So we have people who are proactive, like, okay, I know I'm about to make a lot of money. Let me take care of this. Then we have people who's like, oh my gosh, it's time to buy a house. My tax is done. And then they come to us then like that. And then so many people. So I would say 100% just not taking it seriously, not record keeping it as well.
So, you said fearful.
Yeah.
Can you give me more details about that?
Yeah, they're just afraid of the IRS. That's
Okay.
it. And so there's this bad picture painted on the IRS. I don't know why, but it just is. It's a bad picture painted on it. The IRS is not that bad. Like they're pretty okay. Listen,
I've never heard that. Okay.
Because here you go. I'm gonna put you on some game. Look, I promise you. So the IRS only comes bad people when you ignore them. All right. So imagine you got a homie, right? And the homie is like, hey, bro, like you owe us some money. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're ignoring them. You ignore them. That's when it becomes an issue. There's plenty of times that we have creators and entrepreneurs that come to us and we call the IRS like, hey, what do we need to do? They'll low-key hook you up. They're like your grandma with some cooking. Hey, bro, look, all right, this is what you need to do. You need to file this tax return, this tax return, and you got an audit coming in 60 days. So if you're on their good side and playing by the rules, you are fine. It's when you're not paying by the rules and you're starting to ignore them when it gets bad. So that's kind of one of the things that we offer. We make sure we offer that IRS protection from them, make sure they are compliant. That's all it takes. Just compliance, filing your tax return, paying the taxes on time, and you are fine. They're not going to bother you.
Really?
Yeah, it's when you got beef with them. Then
when you got beef
when
with
you
them.
beefing, when you ignore them, when you beefing, then it becomes an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's basically what your business, Duke Tax, does.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you go into detail about that?
Absolutely. So we help content creators and entrepreneurs stay out of trouble with the IRS and pay the least amount of taxes possible. So it's a white glove experience. We have people who come to us like, here, just take my money, do it. So we have a white glove experience where we're taking care of their accounting, we're taking care of their bookkeeping, their compliance with the state as well. And if for whatever reason we're paying their taxes for them as well, so we're putting the money to the side. And the cool thing about what I do, which I love, so we have these consultations, these quarterly meetings, and what makes us different from any other tax firm is because this tax firm was also started by a creator as well. There's all the startups right there that are focused on creator, but I'm a creator helping other creators. So not only in these meetings are we helping them save on taxes and strategy, we're talking about, hey, you see that new trend? Hey, you need to try this. And then like I'm giving them tips, they're giving me tips. So it's almost like, okay, we got the real stuff out the way, but then we're also talking about how we can grow as a creator, maybe how we can collab together or something else like that. So it's just like exponential. It's just amazing. Like the amount of stuff I learn from them and growing my content, the amount I can teach them and pass it on to them. It's exciting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So about how many clients do you have?
So we have about 1,300 clients. A little over that. Yeah.
And how many of y'all are managing them?
So there's a total of, so during the season, there's a total of 14 of us. Off season, it's about 8. And I would say we need a lot more during the season because we're a very seasonal business.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do have what's called a membership, like memberships, where these are more of a subscription based. So we have 2 types of people that work with us. We have clients and we have members. Clients are just like, okay, I just need my taxes prepped. Okay, fam, we got you. Go and prepare your taxes. We got you. And there's people who need that, relationship type of business like throughout the year where they need those type of plannings. Mm-hmm. And I said those are members, and I would say members we probably have like I would say right around 100 members where we're taking care of maybe like on a monthly ongoing basis.
Okay. And how much do you make from Duke Tax versus your social media content?
Great question. So I would say Duke Tax probably brings in about 1.5 a year, 1.5 million a year. And then social media, it's actually gone down. I would say social media, I'm bringing in maybe around $100,000 a year.
Really? You said it's gone down. Why do you think that?
Okay, so during the PPP and stimulus, I was child tax credit, I was popping. I was off the chain, like, because everything was going down. Like, hey, we got to get this. So it's like that's when I really started. And so the crazy thing about that, because when I started the business, and it's crazy because I've always wanted to help people, but the direction of helping creators and entrepreneurs I never saw that. It's just like, I felt like I was called to that. So I feel like that's my calling. And oh my gosh, I love this so much. So it was like 2020, 2021, there was a bunch of like PPP stuff and a lot of brand deals right there. So that's when I like experienced my first taste of money. I had made like $500,000 from brand deals. Yeah. And I took that money, and I know we were talking about before this, like I didn't have a team. So I took that money, hired a team. It's almost like a startup getting a bunch of money. So I took that $500,000 from brand deals, started placing it into the business, which is fun, which was exciting. And my attention just geared more towards growing the business than brand deals. Mm-hmm. Then another thing I noticed with the brand deals is like I don't feel authentic because I'm working with brands that I don't really use. And so like I just had one with Boost Mobile. I'm like, I don't even use Boost Mobile. Like I was like, but it pays well. But it's like, so I feel like I'm being like more authentic and like being more cautious of who I work with, because, you know, the money, I'm not as desperate as the money I needed in the beginning. But I would say if you're starting out, you need the money, like take out as many brand deals as you can because it's easy money.
And speaking of that desperation, I read somewhere that you were homeless once upon a time. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I've been through a lot. And I was homeless. I was like sleeping out of my truck. But when I say homeless, I don't want to think like I was sleeping on like streets like every day. It wasn't like bad. Like I still had a place to sleep either at a friend's place or I was sleeping outside of my truck. I probably slept like outside maybe 3 or 5 times. It wasn't just like, you know, like.
That's a lot. I have never slept outside in my life unless I was camping.
I know a spot in Dallas. See, I got you.
Okay.
It's super safe. No. But it wasn't like I just only for that picture, like I was like holding a sign, but it's like, yeah, but I had the times. And I have no idea. Like I never would imagine I'm in the position I am in today. I was homeless. I did bankruptcy. I ended up getting evicted and like all that stuff. And I would say the true turning point of all that was one, changing who I surrounded myself with. So I started surrounding myself with different people. And it was weird because I was like, this is interesting. Like, you guys don't drink. You guys don't do this. You guys don't. I'm like, this is cool. And so then I ended up like building the business, and that started to build a little bit. And then the turning point was TikTok. That was truly the turning point. Even like I was renting a room out at one of my roommates' place. I just started getting back on my feet. I was still struggling, and TikTok just like took off and took me to a whole different level. And so once I reached that level, I'm like, I never want to go back. We're never going backwards. So it's like, no matter what I got to do, there's no way. And it's just amazing. Like I just never pictured myself going from homeless to now I live in a penthouse in Dallas, Texas, with like the best views ever. And it's just like, it's amazing. And it's like, if you really put your mindset there, you can truly get there. Your current situation is not your final destination. You got to keep going.
You got to say it louder for the people in the back.
Your current situation is not your final destination.
All right.
Let's back there be like,
And I looked at your LinkedIn profile and something really stuck out to me because once upon a time, I remember I was a gym receptionist and I would never put that on my LinkedIn because it has nothing to do with what I'm doing today. And I saw you still left your dishwasher experience and working at a Lexus warehouse. Why did you leave that there?
I love the transparency. I love the story. So it's like, I want everyone to see that I come from something. Like, I'm just like you. This was not something that was just created. There's someone who's listening to this and it's going to change them, because that's what it took for me. It's like, I was a dishwasher. I worked in a warehouse. There's someone who's a dishwasher right now. There's someone who's a warehouse worker right now. And they just maybe not know how to get there. But this is probably their sign. Like, hey, like, and I want to keep that story. I want to keep that transparency, because I believe like that's how you truly inspire people. When you meet them where you're at, you have that connecting. Yeah, I was once a dishwasher. Now look at me now. Like, and I can truly connect with other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep you humble, keep you grateful.
Oh, yeah, got to.
Mm-hmm. So, dude, what is life really like as a creator?
It's fun. It's exciting. Like, sometimes you forget you're a creator and people are like, oh my God. You're like, oh my God. Can I get a picture? So that's super fun. So I would say, like, there's a lot of things out there where it says, like, oh, it's very impossible to get rich quick. And it's just a complete lie when it becomes a creator. Being a content creator is one of those things that it's an easy industry to get rich very quick with brand deals and things like that. So it's very exciting. I would say that's the pros is the money is good. Mm-hmm. You can work when you want to. The cons is if you're not taking that money and putting it to another asset that can produce additional income, you have no guarantee of what's in the future. We hear about these with celebrities. We hear about these with pop stars. We hear about this with other creators. I see them myself. I ain't gonna say no names, but we got some people. I'm like, hey, bro, that's all you got? And it's like, because they just did not put the right stepping stones in place. So I would say the pros is the money's great. The money's quick. But the cons is it's not guaranteed, because especially if you're relying something on brand deals. So one of the things I enjoy with working with the creators is I had that feeling. So that's why I took that $500,000 from the brand. Look, remember, it's going down. Mm-hmm. Imagine if I would have always had that mindset, oh, I'm making $500,000 a year. Now I'm on for $500,000. And imagine if I was making $500,000 a year. I set my lifestyle up for $500,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Now I'm only making $100,000 a year.
Ooh.
You know, yep, I'm going right back. Remember we talked about we ain't going back? You know,
we ain't going back.
You done lied.
Hey.
So it's like, if you're not taking that money and putting it into an additional asset, you're gonna, and it's like, it's a burnout as well. It can take a big toll on your mental health as well. So it's like, we want to have those type of conversations, keep it real. Like, hey, this money's good, but like, let's do something. Make sure you're taking care of your mental health, because those numbers will like play with a lot of people's heads. Like, oh, I used to get 1 million views. I'm getting like 10,000 views. So it's like, we got to keep it real as well.
And speaking of that burnout, I know sometimes creatives have like creative block. Yeah. So how do you keep thinking of new and engaging content ideas?
Yeah. So the number one thing is you always want to be a student. Always be a student. Forever be a student. And so I'm always a student of other people's content. And so anytime you're trying to get inspired by something or trying to figure out new ideas, the content's literally already out there. And so it's like, I have a Google search every morning. I'm looking at what some are articles that's coming out in the past 24 hours that's kind of be talking about. So always be a student, but don't necessarily copy. You want to get inspired by different artists or journalists, and just continue to always learn to become a student. And that's how you become your own blended version of yourself. Mm-hmm. These people that you're probably already looking up to are probably already posting on a daily content. Continue to watch that content, continue to be a student of them. Take that, become that own blended version of yourself. You'll always be inspired if you're always following those people, always being a student. And you could one day pass the amount of following that they have. Mm-hmm. But just always be a student. Don't ever forget that.
Do you have like a technical process? I know you mentioned the every morning waking up, you know, looking at articles and content, but do you record in batches? Do you batch record all your content? Anything like that?
Oh, this is an interesting one I used to do. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. And so I have a folder, and it will Google like in the past 24 hours, like anything, especially during the child tax credit, student loan forgiveness. I believe another way to create content is also be a source of news information, like what's new or what's relevant. So I'm always what's happened in the past 24 hours. Mm. And then what I used to do, well, this is how I really, really got started, is I would take something and I would put it on Twitter. Okay, how does it do on Twitter? Then whatever was on Twitter, I would then put it on Instagram. Like it's like a carousel. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about that is people will ask additional questions in the comments. Like, okay, oh my gosh, that's good. And sometimes I see something really funny in the comments. I'm like, I'm going to turn that into a video script. So I'm like, I kind of stole that from the comment section. But like, that's how I really used to do it, to see if it's going to perform well. Does it perform well on Instagram? If so, let's turn it into a video, and it's already critiqued as well. Plus, you can also look at other videos that are being posted. Read those comments. There's questions in there as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And you touched on this earlier, but I'm sure you've heard the news about TikTok potentially being banned. Mm-hmm. So what's your backup plan?
I ain't scared. I ain't scared. But it's good. It's good to have a backup plan. I've definitely used a lot of Instagram. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because I'm a creator and like I help other creators. And so we always teach our creators to start owning your own data because with this thing, so we're teaching them how to own their own data by building our own email list and so forth. That way, if this thing does go down, make sure you have it. Hey guys, here's where you can find me at now. Because if your social media goes down, then you truly build that community. I mean, I could have like 3 million followers on like TikTok, but who are really engaging with you? Who's really a part of your community? So I'm not tripping, even though I say that. I still have a backup plan that I where I own my own data. Where like no matter what, even if it's in Excel, it's in HubSpot. But HubSpot got it. They might need to do a backup. But it's like you want to have that whole email list of their names, their phone numbers, and so forth. Another great thing is moving to Instagram as well. So I've like also been pushing people on Instagram. But everything we're teaching our creators doing those quarterly meetings is start figuring out a way to own your data.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're almost done here. I want to know, what is the number one piece of advice you would give to a creator about taxes?
The number one piece of advice for creators with taxes, I would say, don't be afraid. Track your expenses, track your bookkeeping. The moment that you can afford to get an LLC, get an LLC. There's so many things that we can do more with an LLC, such as like an S corp and things like that. So I would say watch the fearness of when it comes to it. Get into an LLC. And another reason why I recommend an LLC, not only can it help you save on taxes potentially with something called an S corp, it's the way we present ourselves to these brands. So typically when a brand works with you, so we call this a loan out corporation. If a brand wants to work with you, they work directly. Okay, look, they work directly with Duke. I give my name, I give my social security number, and all that great stuff. With an LLC or some type of entity, what happens instead is that the brand hires your LLC. So the information that you're giving to the brand is only information about your LLC and then your EIN. They don't even touch your personal information. And then what happens is that LLC then hires you as a talent. So it's all about structure a little bit, protection, and so forth. So 100% the moment that you get an LLC, let's do that. 2, if you can just take care of your bookkeeping, that's it. And just find someone, but don't be afraid. So yeah.
Be afraid.
Yeah, and then the number one tip, just come see Duke Tax if you really need help. Like, let's start with that. Just come mess with your boy.
Go see him, y'all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Duke, what's next for you?
Oh my gosh. I gotta get on an airplane. No, I'm kidding. So what's next is I'm jumping into more of the education space. I'm actually probably going to be speaking at my first big event, which is soon. So not only am I building this business, I'm building this business for it to continue to cash flow, but my true passion and heart is educating others. My process, inspiring others. So we're coming out with an education course for other CPAs and EAs, teaching them marketing, how to do their business, how to do business taxes, and so forth. So jumping into more of that educational space.
Thank you so much for joining
me today.
Thanks for having
me. Yeah.
Yes.